Welcome to Learning to Glow, a show about wellness, skin health, and self-development. I'm your host, Jess. I'm a mom, entrepreneur, and skincare expert. I'm so excited to share tips on how to achieve healthy skin and bring amazing guests in the field of health, fitness, aging gracefully, and personal growth. Let's explore all different ways we can take care of ourselves as women, both inside and out, to truly shine. So let's get glowing. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. I have another solo episode for you, and it is all about skin over 35. I am addressing some of the trends that I've been seeing going around this summer, and I'm answering the most commonly asked questions that I get from my clients and from social media. So everything that I mentioned today, I leave details about in the show notes. So you can just go over to the show notes, and if you have any questions about a treatment or a tool or whatever that I mentioned in this episode, it will all be there for you. But you can always leave me a message if there's something unanswered or if you have other questions about these topics. So this is a fun one. I am so excited to talk about some things that I've never shared before here. So I hope you enjoy it, and thank you again for being here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learning to Glow podcast. I'm your host, Jess, and I am back with another solo episode. So exciting, 2 weeks in a row. I have been loving doing solo episodes, and you guys have been too, because we've had a lot of new listeners and a lot of listeners in the last few times I've done some solo episodes. So I thought I would keep it going and do another one today with y'all. This is my last full week with my kids home for summer. They're going back to school next week, which is very exciting. And yeah, it's been a busy, great, amazing summer, but I am definitely ready to get back to routine, as a lot of moms also agree with me on that one. But today I wanted to talk about my roots. Let's get back to my roots, because I've been doing skincare for many, many years. And there are some new things that I've seen, some trends and new phrases and everything. And I thought this would be fun to talk about skincare. What are some really fun new things, and share with you what is really working for people, women over 35, like focusing on women over 35 today in today's episode, and what is beneficial for their skin, what's making a difference. And I'll finish with some examples of treatments that I'm loving as well, because I get asked this all the time. So I thought we could do a fun skincare episode. And then if there's something that I left out, or if there's something that you guys have seen, a lot of you are really good about reaching out. Make sure that you send me a message. Make sure you send me an email or something, and I will address it in another episode. So I thought I would start with skin flooding. I don't know if you guys have seen this word. I'm loving it. This is nothing new, but I love that people are bringing awareness to skin flooding, which is what I've been talking about my entire career, hydrating the skin. I always say, like, one of my biggest concerns and one of the biggest conditions I would see when I was doing skincare on my clients was dehydration. No matter if you were super oily, acneic, dry, I saw dehydration. And of course, dehydration is going to be when the skin is lacking water, and dryness is going to be when the skin is lacking oil. So an acneic skin type might have a lot of oil, but they might be dehydrated. And that could be because they're overdoing their products, or they're stripping their skin to try to get rid of that oil, which we know does not work. But skin flooding, the philosophy behind it is just doing a lot of hydration, flooding the skin with water and hydration. And the cool thing about this being trendy right now is that people are getting excited about using toners. Now, toner is the first product I ever developed in my line, Simply Jess. It is, to this day, probably my most popular product. The reason is because of how effective it is when you use a toner, especially one like Repair, which is super hydrating. What this topic has brought to a lot of women's attention is that toners are really essential for the skin. And why is that? Toners are going to help moisten the skin. They're going to hydrate, they're going to balance, but also it's going to help that next step. So we're buying these expensive serums and essences that go on after you tone. And if you're not toning and you're putting that expensive serum on your face and you're expecting results, you're not going to get as good of a result because it won't absorb as well as if you had used a toner first. Toners are becoming really popular. People are talking about them a lot more. I remember when I first started educating my clients about toners, they would be like, why do I need a toner? Like, I've never used a toner. I keep it simple: cleanse, moisturize. And then the women that would start using my toner would be like, I get it now. Like, now my skin looks more glowy, it looks more dewy, all of the things that we are trying to achieve, especially after 35. So, our skin is, no matter if you have oily skin or not, as we age, that oil production slows, which is great if we have super oily skin. But for people who are dry, we're going to be even more dry. So using a toner is step one in skin flooding. Step two in skin flooding is just using very hydrating products. So something that has a humectant in it, which is an ingredient that we use in skincare to help attract moisture to the skin. A very classic example is hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is hydrating to the skin, but what it's really great at is binding that moisture so it doesn't escape and it attracts moisture to your skin. So when you use a humectant in your skincare, now you're getting that dewy look because you're maintaining moisture and you are attracting more moisture. Another great example is glycerin. It's all natural. I use glycerin in my products and it acts the same way as hyaluronic acid. Hyaluronic acid is at a higher level of binding moisture, but they are both great and they're great together. So the next step in skin flooding, and I've seen a lot of people online talk about skin flooding and they use like a ton of products, but it's not about the product number. It's more about how effective are the products that you have. Like, what is the synergistic effect of the product that you're using? Is it very hydrating? Is there a lot of humectants in it? Because my philosophy is never that you need 100 products, like 17 products or whatever. You don't need that. You just need to make sure that you're applying your products on hydrated skin, on moist, damp skin, that you're using products that will help maintain and attract. And your final step, you want to make sure that you seal it all in. One thing that you can do is use a moisturizer. It can be a cream moisturizer. A lot of people are using facial oils. So I've been using a facial oil since I was in my 20s. The first brand I ever worked for was called Kirsten Florian. And Kirsten is from Sweden and she's European. And so in her line, there was a lot of rich oils and botanicals, and it was beautiful. So I started using facial oils in my 20s. Because I'm so dry, I was able to get away with that. An oily skin type sometimes cannot. It depends on the facial oil. But first, I'll say, when it comes to trying a facial oil, when you put that on top of your layers of skin flooding, your toner, your hydrating serums, and then you seal it in with an oil, it just helps prevent that moisture loss. So I think that's enough. Like 3 steps is plenty. There are, of course, there's people who use multiple toners. If you want to do that, that's great. Is it necessary? I don't think so. There might be ingredients that they want to target and they want multiple products to do that. I don't think that's necessary myself. And a lot of the people that I serve with my skincare line, they're busy moms, a lot of them, and they're not really interested in spending all day in the bathroom applying 17 steps. And they don't have to, because you can see such a great result without doing that. That's one thing that skin flooding and like the philosophy behind it, I am 100% on board with. This is not new, but there's a new take on it for sure. And just overdoing the hydration usually won't be a problem, especially if you're a drier skin type. And if you're using lightweight products that are non-clogging, all of that stuff, you're going to be fine. especially if you do this at night. Like you wake up in the morning and your skin has been nourished all night long. I have people who use my facial oil that tell me like they're oily, but they maybe the winter time they need that extra hydration, or like every other night you can really customize how you use it. But then after it kind of absorbs into the skin, they wake up the next day and they just look really glowy. So it's a really great technique. And just making sure that we are hydrated will make our skin look so much better. Every fine line that you have and wrinkle is so much more pronounced when you look dehydrated. So I think that part of skin flooding, because if you've listened to the show, I have a more holistic approach to not only skin but life, and trying to be more natural minded. But skin flooding also means, what are you doing internally? Are you drinking your water? You can tell, like if somebody's drinking caffeine and alcohol all day, that'll show up in your skin. Maybe not in your 20s, but it's going to catch up to you. So if you're feeling like, my skin looks dull, I know I'm super dehydrated, ask yourself, when was the last time you had the right amount of water? And up that, increase your water intake, because what we do on the inside does affect our skin. So I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about skin flooding topically without looking at what we're doing inside as well. And I think that's just the basis of, skin is, I've said this before on the podcast, it is an alarm system. What we're doing on the inside can be reflective of things that happen on the skin surface. So if you feel really dehydrated and your skin looks dull and like just really dry, and you're not drinking water, eating like a healthy diet, take a look at that. Okay, the next one is I'm excited about because it's new to me. Facial tools are not new to me. I have used and sold gua sha tools for a long time. I think that gua sha tools are amazing. And anything that we can do, like any type of tool that we can use on our skin, there's so many great ones out there. There's so many that are a waste of money, but I love the gua sha because it's a good price point. And it's user friendly. Like you don't have to be super technical to be able to, you don't have to be an esthetician to give yourself a gua sha treatment. The new one that I'm excited about is called the Kansa wand. I bought this just last week and I'm really excited about it. I actually don't even have my gua sha anymore because I gave my last one away. So I was going to buy a new one, and then I learned about this Kansa wand, and I will post a picture of it so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll link the one I'm using in the show notes too, just if you guys are interested, because it is so cool. I'm so excited about it. Okay, so a Kansa tool, I'll tell you what it is a facial tool that you can use on your face for detoxifying and like getting a glow back to your skin. And the one that I have has one end has a smaller little part to it, and then there's the other side that's like more larger for doing the most of your face. The little side is just for your under eye area. But these are made from copper and tin, and they are really great for detoxifying. It's an Ayurvedic tool. It's been around forever. Like, I want to say more than hundreds of years it's been around. The actual handle is made of wood, and there's a lot of ways that you can use it. So, one of the main purposes of the Kansa tool is it's boosting lymph, and it helps with that glowy look that you get from manipulating your skin. Like I've said this before, and I've talked about it online. I love just using your hands. Like facial massage is incredible. There's so many different ways to do it, and you don't have to be a facialist, an esthetician to be able to get the benefits. There's ways to do it that are really simple, but this is cool. Like this one I'm really into, and it feels really great. You can do like a similar type of movement as the gua sha, and I have videos on my Instagram about how to use the gua sha if you want to do something really simple. And I'll do videos on this one too because I haven't done that yet. But it's really great for depuffing. It's like similar to the gua sha where it has that lymph drainage effect to it. and bringing circulation to the skin. So they say this is really good for people who have breakouts. But just like the gua sha, you don't go over the breakout. Avoid the actual breakout, but this just helps move things around. And it's just relaxing. This is something that's another reason why we do facial massage in skincare, to see results. It's not just because it feels good, but it does feel good. So it's something at the end of the day, if you want to relax a little bit, you can grab your tool, whatever you choose, or you can give yourself a pressure point massage, whatever you want. But I am really liking this tool. I'm planning on using it more often because I'd never heard of this before. And so I was so excited to get it and try it out. I think the main differences between the gua sha and the Kansa wand is I feel like gua sha is really good at sculpting. And especially the heart-shaped ones, you can really sculpt your jaw. You can kind of sculpt your cheekbone area. And you can still do that with this, but I feel like this is better for if you have lymph that needs to be moved around, and if you have any type of breakouts, it's really good. If you have, I think it's really good for under the eye area, and especially because of the material that it's made out of, that is supposed to be helping to draw toxins out. So that's my number 2 tip for skincare over 35. I'm into this Kansa wand, but if you want to try something else like facial massage or gua sha or whatever, I'm a big fan of all that. Facial manipulation for lymph, for drainage, for dark circles, for all of it. There's so many different benefits. Okay, the third one I've talked about before, maybe a long time ago, but I'm back on using this, which is facial tape. Now, if you are a Botox user, then you probably don't need the facial tape unless you're doing it in between your treatments. A lot of people that listen to the show don't do Botox for whatever reason. There's people who've had reactions. There's people who are pregnant. There's people who don't want to spend the money. There's people who just don't think it's right for them. If you don't use Botox, I love this as an alternative. Now, with that being said, Botox works completely different as far as the results that you get. We all know Botox works. It's very effective. But facial tape, what I like about it is that it's cheap, it is effective, and I'll get more into what I mean by that, and it's non-toxic. It was funny, I went into a medical spa website and there was services listed and there was categories, and under the services it says neurotoxin, and that's where you can get your Botox and the other ones that they offer. I just think it's funny. I thought that was unique to this particular med spa, but a lot of med spas, they put neurotoxin. The bottom line is it is a neurotoxin. There are risks with Botox, and that doesn't mean that once in a while it's going to hurt you or whatever. There's plenty of people. There's so many users of Botox that are completely fine. So it's just nice to know, there is a risk to using Botox, especially, if you use it often and you use it long term. And that's why some people would like an alternative. And that's why I think facial tape is really fun, because it does help freeze the muscle while you're using it. Now, when you take it off, you're going to go back to moving your face all around. And if you're somebody like me, I do that a lot. I can't help it. My eyebrows are always raised. No wonder I have deep wrinkles on my forehead. But what I notice when I do the tape is that through when I take it off in the morning, my skin is so smooth. And that kind of goes back to normal as the day goes on. But as I'm wearing it at night, that's no damage is being happening. If I'm not using the tape at night, my head is moving all around. And even in my sleep, you're working that muscle, and the fine lines and wrinkles will, continue to get worse. So I look at it it's a little preventative. It does help a little bit. It's not a drastic, I don't think it's been drastic, but then again, I have seen people, I haven't been as regular with it. I can be very nonchalant about my skincare as far as doing the extra steps. I'm very good about my skincare, but when it comes to the extra stuff, sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. But I have a friend, and I also have seen multiple people online who I follow that are doing consistent facial tape. And I swear they have seen a difference. Like I've seen it. It does work for them, not just like for the day, like their skin looks better. And there's a brand that I really like because I'm not a fan of frownies. I think I've mentioned them the first time when I first started facial tape a few years ago. I was using the frownies, but I cannot sleep with frownies. It's too stiff and it is so uncomfortable. And so I needed something like more flexible that just felt like more comfortable. The brand that I use is called Sealed, and I'll leave it in the show notes as well. I'll write myself a note. I will leave that in the show notes, but it's so easy to put on. You don't have to cut anything. You just like, they have ones where you just do the inch ones where you kind of lift up. There's one for the forehead that kind of covers the whole forehead. It's very comfortable, very easy to use. So that's why I'm using the facial tape again. I went through a period where I'm like, I'm going to finish up my frowny box, but I'm done with frownies. Like I just am not comfortable with those. And then I bought like kinesiology tape, and that felt comfortable, but I was like not using it because I had to cut it, and like it comes in a roll and I just didn't want to be bothered. So then I tried Sealed, and it's like pre-cut. So love that one. If you're going to do it, I would look into that brand or something that's not as, I don't know, uncomfortable, because that's a deterrent. My sleep is way more important to me than my fine lines and wrinkles that I've had forever. With the facial tape, because you're limiting that muscle movement and it kind of trains you to not crease as much, it does help overall. Like, again, it's not as effective as Botox, but it's great. And if you are in that stage of like, if you're a young person or you're like, I want to do some preventative work on my skin so I don't get worse fine lines and wrinkles, it's definitely something to check out. One thing that I heard on a podcast recently was I was hearing people talk about preventative Botox and how it's just such a scam to do preventative Botox, because if you don't need it, you don't need it. And it's just a way to get girls in even younger, like young 20s. And they're like, I'm getting my preventative Botox, which the dermatologist that I was listening to was like, that's just a scam. They're just going to be maybe in trouble later because there's so many years of not being able to use that muscle, and it could possibly atrophy. So, you know, if you've listened to me before about Botox, like I've had a lot of people on the show explaining why it's not great, but it's like nice to have alternatives. Or I know someone who does Botox like once a year, and in between she's face taping, she's making sure she's wearing her sunscreen, she's taking all the other measures so she doesn't have to do it quite so much. So if you can minimize it, that's great too. Those are my 3 tips that I'm offering to you for improving your skin over 35, things that we can do at home, easy skincare routines that we can do, adding in some additional tools to your skincare toolbox if you're interested, if that's something that you have time for. I've always shared other at-home devices that I like, include the red light. I love a red light mask. That's also really great for strengthening collagen. You know, as we get older, we're over 35, fine lines and wrinkles become more of a concern, uneven skin, sun exposure leading to sun damage. That is one big thing. You know, I see a lot of people who are like getting all these treatments and lasers and microneedling and all of these things, and then they're not wearing sunscreen, they're getting sunburn on their face. I feel like if you're going to be out in the sun and you're not covering your face, you're like not protecting your face, and you're actively trying to reduce wrinkles, you need to take a look at that, because even if you want the vitamin D from the sun, that's great, you know, but think about your skin. Especially if you're doing those treatments, because there's less dead skin on the surface of your skin to protect you from further damage. So it's like this revolving door of damage that you're not going to actually be able to maintain some correction if you're not using some sun protection. So I said like anti-aging, like as far as a anti-aging product or a aging concern product, sunscreen, sun protection, SPF is really important. That's just something that I do on my face no matter what, because I am trying to reduce the fine lines. And if I'm not using my sunscreen and I'm exfoliating and I'm doing all these things, I'm going to create more damage. That's something to remember. And I wear hats. I spend a lot of time outside. I love walking. I go to my son's baseball games. And if I didn't wear, some type of protection over my skin, I would have a lot more sun damage. We'll say that. There's another skin trend that I've seen as well called barrier first minimalism. And this is basically, I think, a counter reaction to all the trendy, like 17-step skincare that was out there. I feel like when social media and skincare influencers and beauty influencers, they just kept adding and adding and adding to their routine. I think it's like a way of saying, okay, wait, this is the new trend, keeping it minimal, which is just going back to what you actually need, in my opinion, and using something that's going to help protect your barrier of your skin. And those are all the same things that I already mentioned with skin flooding, things that are going to be gentle on your skin, that are going to add to your hydration. You're making sure the barrier, if it's not protected, if it's wrecked, you're not going to have the skin that you're trying to get. So I mentioned that one, but it's kind of what we already talked about when it comes to skin flooding. The other thing I wanted to mention, because I do get asked this quite a bit, is skin treatments for people over 35. What should they do? So we've already talked about Botox and filler. I never recommend that, but if that's something that you want to do, I would be a liar if I said it didn't work, because it works very well. But for me personally, what I would do and what I recommend others to do if they're interested in fine lines, rejuvenation, glowing skin, all of that, is I would tell them to look into microneedling. I would say look into laser treatments. I love a treatment that is minimally invasive, but we're not adding a foreign object into our body. That's kind of my thing. Like if I can get a laser treatment and it'll resurface my skin, fantastic. Like I'm all in for that. There's a bunch of different lasers. Like I'm not going to go through all of that, but find a place that you trust and get a consultation. If you are willing to go invest in your skin and you want to go to the next level, like you feel like you are ready to get rid of some unevenness, maybe you have hyperpigmentation, whatever it might be. But I've seen people online who have Botox and they have these treatments and they're not being consistent with their skincare. And I always say, like, that's the foundation to your skin. So you can have like no wrinkles on your forehead, but your skin can look dull and dry and still not have that glowy look. Botox doesn't mean you have a glow, it just means that your wrinkles are gone. So if you're going to go and invest money into a skincare regimen as far as treatments go, I would say make sure that you're wearing your SPF, that you're, protecting yourself from the sun, of course, and that you have a good foundation of products. And it doesn't have to be a million products, but enough that your integrity of your skin is good, because that'll really enhance the treatments that you're paying for. And these treatments are not cheap. So, I mean, if it was up to me and money was no object, I would be doing microneedling on a regular basis, and I would be getting lasers done, depending on the laser, quarterly maybe. There's so many great ones out there on the market. And facials, if you can get in for a facial, get some extractions, some exfoliation. A lot of facials, the lady that I go to, she gives me oxygen and red light. It's beautiful. So if you can kind of do that, that's my dream regimen. I don't currently do that, but I think it's super effective. And I think that it's, like I said, we're not injecting anything into our bodies that we don't want to, if that's the course and that's the way you go about it. Definitely not attacking that kind of thing. I just think there's a lot of options. If you feel like you're not comfortable for whatever reason it might be, there's a lot of other options. And then, add in a gua sha tool or a kansa wand and see what happens. See what happens when you start incorporating some of these things into your skincare. Some of them take effort. That's another thing about Botox. There's like zero effort. You just go in once in a while, you get injections and it's done. constant wand. I'm actually manipulating my skin myself. It takes some time, but feels good. It's nice self-care. I'm a big fan of that. But anyways, I hope this helps. I'm so excited to talk skincare today because it's what I love. It's what I know. I've been doing it for so long. And sometimes when new things come up, I'm excited and happy to share them with you. So make sure that you send this to somebody, send it to a friend who is interested in improving their skin and could use some facial tips, skincare tips. And don't forget, if you have never tried my product, Simply Just Skincare, I have a coupon code for my listeners of Learning to Glow podcast. It's all you have to do at checkout is put podcast as the coupon code and you get 20% off, which is a huge discount. My prices are already so good as it is, considering I use so many organic and natural ingredients, which are very high quality. So check out my website. It's simplyjustskincare.com. Please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. I know you can really curate a personalized regimen based on what your needs are, based on what your concerns are. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and review so we can reach more people who want to learn to glow alongside us. See you next time.